What's up, guys? Figured I'd do another review. I get a lot of requests to go over the suspension, kind of go over it a little bit more in depth than I have in my previous videos. So I figured I would talk about it and give my impressions and kind of my settings. So if anybody has any questions on it, they can kind of I can refer them to this video. So it'll give them a better idea exactly how I have the car set up. So the car is sitting on Fortunato 500s. It's the Gen 6 version. I believe they have the Gen 7 out now, so it's just the newer version. It comes with pretty much the same stuff as standard, as opposed to paying for it, but it's just the updated version. Pretty much the same stuff, but I figured it's very similar to what I have. But I've had these for about 20,000 miles. I put them on July or August of 2017, so just a little over 2 years now. So I have a decent amount of seat time on these, so I got a good example of how they perform and how they handle in daily driving, and just kind of every different types of scenarios that I use the car for. Don't use it I don't use the car on the track, so I can't give my impressions on how it performs then, but most people don't use the car on the track, so I feel like this is kind of a more relatable review, because most people just drive on the street and they just want something to lower the car and kind of get a little bit better handling, and just kind of make it perform better for the street. Yeah, it's unnecessary for most people, but I just like my cars lowered, and I like them to perform the way that I always want my cars to perform. I drive spiritedly. I take it out for drives and on the back roads and stuff every once in a while, and I just want the car set up so it drives the way I want it. Like I said, it's the Fortunato coilovers. My specs are I have the upgraded Swift springs. I also have the radial bearing upgrade. You can get, if you were just buying stock or without any upgrades, they come with the normal green springs that you normally see, and they're 8K spring rates all around. I have to go for a little bit softer because it's a daily driver. I actually upgraded to the Swift springs, which is about a $300 upgrade, I believe. But I went to 7K. I went down to 7K, I should say. And the reason for that is, like I said, I daily drive the car. I don't want anything crazy harsh. I've done very stiff suspension in the past, and I didn't want to do that with this car. I wanted to keep it simple and comfortable. I drive my family in it. I've said that in a million videos, but I drive my family in it. I drive it to work every day. So I wanted something a little bit more comfortable for me and anybody that's in the car with me. I don't want to be driving and bouncing all around and everything. I've been there and done that, and it makes me not even want to drive the car. So bumping down to the 7K was definitely a great idea. I've had, like I said earlier, I have about 20,000 miles into the car, and they're performing perfectly. They're as quiet as they were when I first installed them. There's no metal noises, no clunking, no crazy noises, no squeaking, nothing like that. They're honestly just performing beautifully, and I'm so happy with it, because in the past I've had some other brand coilovers before, and in colder weather or anything like that, they would just be incredibly noisy. It just sounds like metal clunking back and forth, and no matter what I did, no matter how tight, how loose, what torque spec, or I changed the preload and all that stuff, it was too much. It's just, no matter what I did, it just ended up making so much noise, and I couldn't take it. So I wanted to make sure that I wanted to get something for this car that would stay quiet and perform really well. And I'm really happy with these Fortunato coilovers. The suspension that I was considering at the time was the AST. I think it's the AST 5100s, I believe. And the only thing that I wasn't crazy about them is you have to buy camber plates with them. My budget was under 2,000 bucks, and with the ASTs and getting all the camber plates and everything set up, I think it was around 2,500 bucks. So it was a little too much at the time, so I decided to go with the Fortunatos. If I ever have to get these rebuilt, or I decided I want to change it up, I'll either just go with the most current generation of these Fortunautos, or I'll bump it up to the ASTs depending on you know, at the time, if you know, I decide to track the car a little bit, or I just want something a little bit more track focused, or I don't know, just to change it up. But most likely I would just go with the Fortunautos, again, just because they're so good. I'm really happy with them. Like I said, there's much cheaper options out there that a lot of people go with. There's, you know, I don't want to name specific brands, but you know, this kind of falls between the cheaper and the pricier ones. For me, I always feel that I felt like the $2,000 mark was kind of the break for me between, you know, the really expensive ones and the little bit more affordable ones. So going with the ASTs, it kind of bumped it up into the more expensive bracket that I wasn't really willing to go at that point. And these are kind of fell in between with all the upgrades, the radial bearings and the Swift spring upgrade. I believe it was about 15 or 1700 bucks, so it kind of fell right in the middle of that. I installed it myself, so I didn't have to pay for labor or anything like that. It's very easy install. It's just, you know, a few bolts on each side, and you pop them in, and, you know, adjust to the height you want and all that. So, you know, it took a couple of days trying to kind of get where I wanted it to be, but I'm really happy with where it is currently. I've had it at this height for a while. It's pretty tight, one finger gap. I don't know the exact inches and height of what it is, but it's very low for a daily driver. But you know, once you go low, it's kind of hard to go back up, and this is kind of perfect. I'm really happy with how it's sitting. You know, the rears are pretty much the same. It's a really tight one finger gap. It looks really good. It's really practical. I do not scrape anywhere, which is awesome. The rear fenders are rolled. I did have to get these rolled, but that's not dependent on the suspension. It's dependent on the wheels and the offset that you are running. I've talked about my offset and these wheels and everything in other videos, so that kind of dictates if you have to roll the fenders or not. But if you're running a 265 9.5 wheel, 265 tire, 9.5 wheel, with about a 35 offset, you're definitely gonna have to roll the rears. The fronts are untouched. I didn't have to do that, or I didn't have to roll the fenders at all for them, which was nice, because I don't like rolling front fenders because it screws up the liner, and it just never looks right. So I'm happy I didn't have to do that. As for camber, I am running -3 all around. I do not have aftermarket rear control arms. Right now they're both sitting at, I think it's like 0.1 or 0.2 off each from the rear. I think it's like -2.9 in the back and -3.1 on one side, you know, compared to the other. So it's very close. If it was really off, I would have got the camber arms or the lower control arms to kind of even it out. But right now it drives so well, and it's so close that I just decided just to leave it be. If I do decide to get them at some point, I'll probably bump the rear camber out or down to about -2.5, or even try to go down to -2. I would leave the front at upper 2s or -3, just for the performance aspect. Because ideally you would want less camber in the rear and more camber in the front for handling, but it handles so well right now for the street that I really don't need to mess with it, and it's sitting so well. So I'm not really messing with it. I'm just kind of leaving it be. And yeah, I'll show you pretty tight back here, and same thing, it's about a one finger gap. It's also an uneven surface too, so take that for a grain of salt, because you know, it's never really perfect unless you're on perfectly flat ground. Another great thing about this suspension is it's 24-way adjustable, so you can kind of dial into how soft or firm you like the car. You know, for me, obviously that's more geared towards track use, but it's nice to have that for daily driver, because You can kind of dial it into what you prefer and what you like best. For me, I found I played with the damping a lot, and I found that 18 in the front and rear was the best setting. It was kind of a good mix between firm and soft, but it still gave you that sporty feel. Right now I'm running 20 in the rear and 18 in the front to see if I can notice any difference, but I probably got to bump the rears back to the 18. I know it's such a small minuscule change, but I always enjoy kind of playing around with it and seeing what I like best, and I always go back to the 18 just because I think it's the best of both worlds. When I first got it, I think I had it at 15 all around, which was really nice. It was pretty soft. I wouldn't say soft, but much more compliant, but I felt a little bit more floaty, and the 18 really kind of evened it out for me, and kind of made it look or feel the best as when I was driving. So I do suggest try. When I first put them on, like the first test drive, I believe I'm at full soft just to try and see what it felt like, but I think I immediately bumped it up to 15. So my advice is just kind of, I guess, go full soft, see what you think, and kind of move up from there. But ultimately, I think 18 all around is the best setting, that at least for me. Everybody's different, so that's kind of the beauty of coilovers. You can kind of adjust to what you like and what you prefer in your driving style. I picked these up from Singus Performance. They're absolutely great over there. They really know their stuff. Jeff is the owner. I spoke with him. He answered all my questions. He would write back novels in his email explaining every little question and scenario that I can think of. And he definitely answered everything and kind of put my mind at ease and made sure I was getting the right suspension for my needs. He doesn't try to sell you the most expensive thing. He sells you what you want and what he thinks is best for your application. And I found that doing that, he really pointed me in the right direction, and I'm just really happy. So I would definitely hit up Singus Performance. Ask Jeff as many questions as you possibly can. He'll definitely get you set up with what you need. They sell anything performance related, and they really know their stuff. They've been in the game, the Subaru game, for a long time. So they don't mess around. They just kind of point you in the right direction, and kind of don't BS you and try to sell you stuff just to make a sale. They really want to get you in the right, get you the right parts for the car for what you want to do. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the suspension. I'm really happy with them. I have about 20,000 miles on them. I believe Fortunato kind of recommends doing a rebuild around 30 or 40,000 miles, but honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna have to do that for my driving style. Like I said, I just drive it to work mainly, and the weekends it kind of stays parked. I really don't drive too much on the weekend, just because we're using the family car with the kids and everything, so it's kind of just stays put. I don't think I'll need a rebuild at 30,000 miles. Right now they're perfectly fine, but might change in 10 or 20,000 miles if I have the car that long anyway. But as of right now, I don't see them ever having to be rebuilt. But the great thing is, they're reasonably affordable, so I don't know if I would just get a rebuilt or buy a new pair, simply because this is my daily driver, and I don't know if I would have the downtime to be able to take them out, send them out, get them rebuilt, and put them back in. Granted, I'm sure they're really fast because they're located in Virginia, so it would be a pretty quick turnaround. But like I said, it's my daily driver. I want to be able to put it on jack stands and leave it there for a week or however long it takes, and be able to install it again. So I'll probably just buy another set and sell these off, as a pair that needs to be rebuilt, or you can use whatever at your discretion. But that's far down the line. I'm not even worried about it at all. They make no noise. They perform just as good as they did the first day I put them on, so I'm not even really thinking about that at this point. The only thing that I did notice that I started to kind of come up was if the car is sitting overnight and it's really humid and hot the next day, I notice there'll be like a little bit of a squeak when I first pull the car out of the garage, and maybe like the first 2 minutes of driving. and then it goes away. But other than that, it's really minor. I haven't really been able to pinpoint exactly what the cause of it is. My guess is the bump stops, just kind of being, any condensation or something from it being really humid. Let's see, I'm gonna try to open this with one hand. Okay, not that there's really much to see, but there's the camber plates. Yeah, and that's another great thing about these is they do come with camber plates. With more expensive suspensions like ASTs, you have to buy camber plates separately, which is definitely an expense that you'll have to take into consideration if you plan on going with something a little bit more expensive. But having the adjustability like that is really great. You can dial in the exact suspension or specs that you want for a daily driver. Obviously you want less camber for better tire wear, but if you have specific wheels with higher or lower offsets, you want to make sure you can kind of dial it in to make them fit without having to really modify the fenders or anything like that. So yeah, I mean that's my quick review of the Fortunato 500 Gen 6 coilovers. If you guys have any questions exactly what my specs are, or why I chose what I chose, just leave it in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to go over them with you in a little bit more depth. If you guys need a link to where I got them, I'll be more than happy to provide that as well. But I mean, it's pretty straightforward to find. You just go to cingusperformance.com and look at their suspension page, and you'll be able to find them pretty easily. But I guess that's it for now, and I'll catch you guys in the next review video. See ya.